We are here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil for UFC 237. My name is Guilherme Cruz and I'm joined by the one and only Michelle Waterson, who has been very vocal about coming to Brazil. We really wanted to be here, especially for the main event tomorrow between Rosa Namajunas and Jessica Andrade. First of all, welcome again to Rio. You were very anxious to come to Brazil, to Rio. Has it lived up to the expectation of what you thought about the city?
It's amazing. It really is, and it's amazing because of the people. Just being here in the arena tonight and hearing the passion and the fire from all the people, just it makes events that you fight for memorable.
The main event tomorrow is a fascinating fight, but you're having a different interest in this fight because you were obviously wanting to get the next crack at the title. What are your thoughts on this matchup, stylistically speaking?
Well, yeah, I do have a high interest in it because I want to fight for the belt next. And I have fought Rose. I haven't had the opportunity to fight Andrade yet. So I think the matchup is really amazing. They're both two very different fighters, but have both gone 5 rounds with Joanna, who is the previous champ. And so it is really interesting. I feel like Rose has an advantage because she's a champ and she has range and she is able to blend her techniques a little bit better than Andrade. Well, that being said, we are fighting here in Brazil. Andrade has a crowd behind her, and there's something to be said about that momentum of the crowd getting behind you. And the only reason why Andrade has problem is because it gets into the later rounds and her heavy power shots seem to slow down because she puts so much into her punches. And so I feel like she might have an advantage with fighting in her hometown and just getting that extra boost of energy from the crowd and her peers and her people. So it should be really interesting.
Do you think that she's a favorite in the odds-wise because this fight is in Rio, or because you think that her style matches well with Rose, that she should be the favorite because of her style?
I think a lot of factors play into it. I think that her style plays into it a lot. The fact that she's here in Brazil plays into it a lot. And the fact that we've seen her fight more recently than we have seen Rose. It's been a while since we've seen Rose fight. So I think that plays a lot into it. I actually feel like Rose will win this fight.
You want Rose to win. You have talked about it, but do you think she's gonna win the fight?
I do think Rose will be able to win. She has a really cool, calm, collected head on her shoulders, and she's able to see things and slow things down to a point where she can pick her shots in really dangerous positions, which is something you have to be able to do against a dangerous fighter like Andrade.
If you do fight again next, how do you think this matchup is gonna be different than the first one? How much have you grown since the first fight against her?
Oh, I've grown tremendously, but so has she, and so it's going to be it's going to be amazing. It's going to be both of us at our peak of our career, fighting for something that, like Rose was saying, bigger than ourselves. You know, I don't know necessarily what it is that Rose is fighting for, but I'm fighting for my family. I'm fighting for all parents out there, for all mothers out there who have a dream and don't want to let it go just because they are a mother. And I think they're, I like I said, I want to be the first mom champ for the UFC.
And is it incredible to see her, a fellow strawweight headline a card that has Anderson Silva and Jose Aldo, such legends, especially here in Brazil?
It is amazing. It really is. And I'm glad that the UFC sees the potential in the strawweight division. I've always said it. I feel like the strawweight division is the deepest division with all the divisions for the females in the UFC. And I'm glad that they're finally shedding light on that.
Speaking of Anderson Silva, he's fighting Jerry Cannonier in the co-main event. It's a matchup that came out of nowhere. No one was really expecting it. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I'm not too familiar with Anderson Silva's opponent, but I've always been a huge fan of Anderson Silva, and again, just hearing the crowd behind him while he's coming out, it really is history in the making to be able to say that I got to watch Anderson Silva fight.
Is this your first time watching him fight?
Live it is. Yeah. It'll be the first time live, and first time in Brazil watching a fight live, which is amazing.
How do you think is this fight gonna play out?
I hope he wins. I hope he wins. Mm-hmm.
And the third most important fight of the night is Jose Aldo's return. He's coming off 2 big wins here in Brazil. The last one being here in Brazil against Renato Moicano, and the other one against Jeremy Stephen. 2 great knockouts. But Alex Volkanovski is on a roll. He's defeating a lot of people. He's just coming off a huge win against Chad Mendes. What are your thoughts on this match? How do you think it's going to be? Do you think that it's going to be like passing the torch? Or do you think Jose Aldo is going to continue to eliminate contenders in the featherweight division?
I don't think Jose Aldo is going anywhere. I feel like it's crazy to me that people think that, you know, he's taken a step back. In my opinion, I feel like he's taken step forwards and he's evolving as a fighter. I feel like he's a different fighter now than he is with the old school Aldo that most of us are used to. But I feel like his boxing has evolved, and he really does get the feel from his people. They love him out here, and he's like a king out here, and it's amazing to fight with that energy, with that passion. So obviously it's going to be a hard fight, but I think that Aldo is one of those fighters that rises to the occasion. When it is a hard fight, that makes him go even harder. So I'm gonna give him the win.
People looked at him after the second Max Holloway fight. They're like, okay, he's done. He just lost twice to Max Holloway. But his last couple wins, people, I kind of think changing his mind. He's talking about stop fighting this year. But people, okay, no, just this Jose Aldo, we want to see more of him, right?
Yeah, not at all. He's still growing and evolving, and it's amazing to watch. And you know, you can't judge a person off of one fight, especially fighting Max Holloway, who's a champion. When you get up to the top of the top, the cream of the crop, every fight is a championship level fight, and so it's only a matter of mistakes that you make within the fight that can cost you the fight. And so and also stylistically, you know, Max was just a little bit longer than him, and just he couldn't tee off. So I'm really excited to see Aldo continue his career.
Okay, Michelle, thank you very much for joining me to talk about this incredible card tomorrow here in Rio. And MMA fans, tune in at MMAfighting.com for our news. Thank you for following us all week, talking about the fights, and stay tuned because tomorrow night we have plenty more coverage coming.